Spring Boot at response body doesn't serialize entity ID.
This follows the same teaching style as your earlier Spring Boot topic.
Introduction. In Spring Boot REST APIs, when returning objects using response body or at REST controller, Spring automatically converts Java objects into JSON using JSON. However, developers sometimes notice a strange issue. The entity ID is missing in the JSON response. Example: John, but expected. ID 1. Name John. This can be confusing because .id exists in database entity is fetched correctly. Other fields are serialized properly. This topic helps learners understand why ID may not appear, how serialization works, common causes, how to fix it, best practices. This is a very common Spring Boot plus JSON issue. What does this issue mean? It means Spring JSON is not including the ID field when converting the entity to JSON. Example concept: Java object means JSON conversion means ID field skipped. How serialization works. Spring Boot uses JSON to serialize objects. Flow. Entity means JSON means JSON response. JSON uses getters, get ID, annotations visibility rules.
Example concept.
Field visible means included. Field hidden means excluded. Common causes. 1. Missing getter for ID, at ID, private long ID. If there is no getter, public long get ID, return ID. JSON cannot serialize it. Fix public long get id, return ID. 2. JSON ignore on ID, JSON ignore private long ID. This explicitly hides the field. Fix. Remove annotation. /remove at JSON ignore 3, using lombok incorrectly. If using lombok, getter at setter, but getter not generated properly or excluded, ID may not appear. Fix. Ensure. Getter private long ID. 4. Field visibility issue. JSON may not access private fields without getters. Fix. Add getter or configure. J at JSON auto detect. Field visibility equals JSON auto detect visibility any. 5. Using projections, Spring Data REST. If using projections, at projection name equals user view, types equals user.class, and ID is not included, it won't appear. Fix. Include ID in projection. Long get ID. 6. Lazy loading proxy issue. Hibernate may return proxy objects. Sometimes ID may not be visible depending on configuration. Fix. Use DTO or fetch entity properly. 7. At JSON view filtering. If using JSON view, ID may not be part of selected view.
Fix.
Include ID in view. 8. Custom serializer. If custom serializer is used, JSON serialize using equals custom serializer.class. ID may not be included. Fix. Update serializer to include ID. 9. DTO mapping issue. If you return DTO instead of entity, return new user DTO, user.getName. ID may not be included.
Fix.
Add ID to DTO. Private long ID. 10. Hibernate entity without proper mapping. At ID, generated value, private long ID, but value not set yet, not persisted. Fix. Ensure entity is saved before returning. Example problem: at entity, public class user, ID, at generated value, private long ID, private string name, controller, get mapping dash user, public user, get user, return user repository dot find by id 1L or else null. Response missing ID. Correct version, public long get ID, return ID. Example full working entity, at entity public class user, ID, At generated value, private long id. Private string name. Public long get ID, return ID. Public string get name, return name is. Debugging tips 1. Print object, system.out.println user.getID. Check if ID exists.
2. Check JSON response.
Use Postman browser. 3. Enable logging. Logging.level.org.springframework equals debug. 4. Use JSON object mapper. Object mapper equals new object mapper. System.out.println mapper.writeValue is string. Best practices include: always provide getters for fields, use DTOs for API responses, avoid exposing entities directly, avoid unnecessary @JSON ignore, use clear serialization rules. Example concept. Controlled serialization means predictable API. Advantages of fixing this: correct API responses, better front-end integration, consistent JSON structure, easier debugging. Challenges: hidden annotations, proxy issues, DTO mismatch, serialization configuration. Concepts learned in this topic: how JSON serialization works, why ID may be missing, common causes and fixes, best practices for REST APIs. Simple definition: ID not serialized issue. A problem where the entity's ID field is not included in the JSON response due to serialization configuration or missing accessors. Final summary. If @response_body does not serialize ID, check getter exists. Remove @JSON ignore. Verify DTO includes ID. Check projections views. Ensure entity is persisted. Key idea: JSON serializes only what it can access and is allowed to include. Once you understand this, you can control your API responses effectively.